All right, here we are for this week's market snapshot. What's happened in the last 7 days in Northern Virginia real estate in under 5 minutes. And a bonus, we have the the yearly month-over-month report for the month of February. The numbers are in. Here we go. Okay, so the first part of this report is our week market snapshot, which is a snapshot of the last 7 days. In the market snapshot, we are using what we call lead measures. In other words, they are data that we can use that is current, so we can make real-time decisions, versus lag data, which is number of sales, sales prices, and so on and so forth, because for a transaction to close and be considered sold and to use that data, a property has to be under contract for about 30 days. So if that property goes under contract on, let's say February 2nd, and it closes on March 2nd, it won't be considered into March's stats until at least March 31st, and then you have to wait until at least 10 days to make sure all the stats are in. So that transaction's actually close to 60 days old. Whereas these numbers are going to be what's happened in the last 7 days, so we can make real-time decisions. So this first graph here, this is our buyer activity, as Kelly likes to call it, our black squiggly line. This is buyer activity. These are the number of properties that went under contract in the last 7 days. And then our blue line down here is going to be inventory. In other words, the number of properties that came onto the market in the last 7 days. And you can see that the inventory increased slightly in the last 7 days, and buyer activity increased more sharply. So that increased this gap between the demand, the buyer activity, and the supply. So when you increase that demand, when we go down to our second chart here, you can see this, a normal market is right here in the middle, and anything below this normal market in which the supply would be higher than demand would be a buyer's market, and that would indicate prices coming down. Anything above that line is going to be a seller's market, so that means prices are going to be going up. So we can see that we are still in a seller's market. It's a little bit of an increase this week. It is a seller's market. It's a decent seller's market. But it's actually a little more favorable for buyers than it was last year, because if you look at this time last year, we were up in this area. And the reason for that is because the inventory is a little bit higher. This was last year's inventory, and this is this year. So we're a little bit higher in inventory. Buyer demand is about the same, maybe just a little bit lower, but that inventory is finally coming out there. So buyers, you have some choices, and you're going to be competing, but you're not going to be competing as hard because there are choices out there. So it's a good time for the buyers. And for sellers, your properties, as long as you price it right and you put it on the market and you stage it and you have it present well, you're going to get top market value and likely get multiple offers. So that's what's going on in the last 7 days here in Northern Virginia. So what that means for sellers, again, it's a good time to sell. We're starting to get into that spring market and see the activity picking up. For buyers, it's really a sweet spot right now, because if it follows the typical spring markets of past, we'll see that seller's market strength increasing as we go through the next few weeks. So that's what's happened with the last 7 days.